The GPD WIN Mini 2024 is here, and it's our second 8840U based handheld gaming PC to review and compare. Let's find out how the Mini 24 compares with the WIN 424, but first let's get started with the unboxing. First out of the box we have an envelope containing the user guide, which is in English and Chinese. Next we have the GPD WIN Mini 2024 itself. We will take a closer look at it shortly. Underneath we have a USB Type-C charge cable and a charger. We will include the correct adapter for your country. The WIN Mini 24 measures around 6.6 by 4.2 by 1.02 inches and weighs 520 grams. The lid flips up to reveal a 7-inch LTPS touchscreen display with a 1920 by 1080 resolution and 60 and 120 Hz variable refresh rates. It's also worth noting that this is a native landscape panel, so you should not have any issues with older DOS games. The lower half is where all the action is. You have your standard gaming controls, including Hall effect analogues and a full QWERTY keyboard that is backlit. As the device is physically small, the keyboard is never going to match a laptop size keyboard. It is usable with a thumb or one finger typing. The buttons do require some pressure to press, so you would not be able to type fast or for very long. But for brief messages, logging into games or websites etc, it's perfectly fine. Along the top we have shoulder and trigger buttons, a USB 4 and USB Type-C port. You can use the USB 4 port for connecting an eGPU to, such as the GPD G1. Following that is a toggle switch to change between gamepad and mouse input. There's a micro SD card slot and a USB-A port for peripherals. The GPD WIN Mini 2024 features the AMD Ryzen 7 8840U processor. It's the latest in AMD's mobile processors. It also has the AMD Radeon 780M GPU, which was the same as the previous generation. For RAM, we have a choice of 32 or 64 gigs of LPDDR5, and for storage, there's options of 512 gigs or 2 TB NVMe SSD. Communications are handled by Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2 standards that we all know and love. Power in it all is a 44.24 watt-hours battery, which in our test running Cinebench on a loop got us around 1 hour 38 minutes, around 18 minutes longer than the GPD WIN 424. On average, you are looking around 6 to 8 hours of usage. In our fan noise and temperature test, also tested whilst running Cinebench, we got a highest fan noise of 68 decibels and a highest temperature of 59 degrees C. We will now run some system benchmarks and compare it with the WIN 424 model, which also has the 8840U processor, as well as some of the previous generation 7840U series models. PC Mark is more of your day-to-day benchmark, with everything from web browsing up to image editing. On the WIN Mini we get a score of 6,841. It is in the higher end of the results as expected, although a little lower than the GPD WIN 424. Cinebench performs benchmarks to find out the CPU single and multi-core performance. We got scores of 1,717 and 11,554 respectively. The single core performance is in line with the WIN 4, which is good to see. We do see a bit of a drop in multi-core performance though. And 3D Mark tests the CPU and GPU working together for gaming performance. For TimeSpy we get ever so lightly than expected performance with 2,953. For Night Raid we see scores on the lower end of the scale. And for Firestrike, again, we see slightly lower than expected scores. As always, we will be performing the gaming benchmarks at 1080 and 720p resolutions, and at 5, 10, 1520 and 28 watts TDP to get a range of results for comparison. And while we are missing an Oclink port, we can still connect an eGPU via the USB 4 port, so we will do some brief tests with the GPD G1 2024 as well. We are running Forza Horizon 5 on the very low graphic settings. We see good results overall across the 720p benchmark tests, but as we go to higher TDPs we do see the performance drop when compared with the WIN 4, and at 1080p we see fairly low average frames per second. We are running Shadow of the Tomb Raider on the lowest graphic settings. Again, we see lower frames per second than the GPD WIN 424 at 1080p. This continues across the benchmarks, but does improve as we lower the TDP. We are running Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on the minimal graphic settings with no FSR enabled. We overall see very good results on the WIN Mini 24 here. There's a good mix of first and second place against the WIN 4, which is good to see. Though, at higher TDPs we do see the performance drop on the Mini. Our last game is Street Fighter 6 on the highest graphic settings. At 1080p 28 watts TDP we see lower performance compared to the WIN 4, and even last year's WIN Mini model. It's only a frame or two difference, but it is what it is. Whilst briefly summarising the benchmarks, here are the results for the handhelds running the GPD G1 24 via USB on an internal display. Overall, I think the results are slightly disappointing for the WIN Mini 24. When directly compared with the WIN 4 24, which has the same processor, we see generally higher results in favour of the WIN 4. We know from the original Mini that it did perform slower due to the heat issues, and this also seems to be the same for the 24 model as well. Next, we will show a few games running at the best settings to keep above 60 frames per second, or failing that 30. We will be showing some more game footage later in the final thoughts part as well.
In the lands of Power World where dreams are unfurled, we capture pals in the wild adventure with each child. Crafting and building with friends we're gilding. Through battles and skies our spirits rise. Mysteries unfold in this world so bold. Together with our pals we'll conquer all foes. In the heart of the realm where the manor lords dwell, fields stretch out under the sky's wide spell. With the clink of the smith and the cart's heavy load, we build our domain where the cold rivers flow. Tales of valor and trade whispers through the pine. In the dance of war and peace our fates entwine. Banners rise in the dawn as we shape our land's lore. In the age of manor lords, we strive for more. In the ruins of Boston where shadows fall deep, I wander the wasteland where memories creep. With my faithful companion, a dog by my side, through raiders and mutants together we stride. The echo of war in a world torn apart, I search for my family with hope in my heart. In the glow of the fallout beneath the old stars, I forge my new future amidst the old scars. In the heart of the city where the night comes alive, four brothers in shadows, together they thrive. With a slice of pizza in the glow of the moon, they battle Shredder's minions to a ninja platoon. Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines, Raphael is cool but rude, Michelangelo's a party fiend. From the sewer to the street they're on a righteous quest. In Shredder's revenge they put evil to the test.
We do see some emulation performance increases up to 64-bit systems. This allows us to drop the TDP a little lower than the 7840U models from last year. For newer systems we see some improvements, but not massive, as they do rely on the GPU more often than not.
Sonic races through the zones with a blur of cobalt blue, collecting rings and falling Eggman with his loyal crew. In a whirlwind of adventure, he dashes towards the prize, speeding past the competition under starry skies. In the neon glow of the future ships race at the speed of light, dodging, weaving through the tracks, soaring into the night. In the thrill of the race with techno beats pounding away, we chase the horizon and wipe HD where victory is in play. Where victory is in play. Where victory is in play. In the vortex of colors, through the vector space I glide. TXK on the Vita, with the pulse of the arcade tide. Neon lights and cosmic fights in this digital embrace. In cruising blast engines roar and the neon lights glow. Through wild vivid landscapes we speed and we flow. Up ramps and through cities with a thrill that won't last. We're chasing the horizon in a world that's vast. In the sleek streets of cities where the sharp turns cold, Project Gotham Racing's challenge enthralls. With kudos for style and speed in our chase, we drift through the night in this urban race.
The GPD WIN Mini 2024 is an interesting handheld. If you have the original WIN Mini model, then there's not really enough difference to warrant an upgrade. And you do also lose the OcuLink port, which does make a fair difference in performance when compared to USB 4 connections. When compared to the WIN 424, we do see that the Mini has generally lower performance. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of a balance of performance to make the Mini a very viable option if you were deciding between the two. We are still waiting to check out the GPD WIN Max 2 2024, which we think will be similar or better performance than the WIN 4. Keep an eye out for that review and comparison. Despite the slightly lower than ideal performance, the GPD WIN Mini 2024 does remain a great alternative to other similar handheld gaming PCs. If you are looking for something larger than the WIN 4 and something smaller than the WIN Max 2, it is the perfect solution. It still remains one of my favourite handhelds for this reason. You can learn more and order the GPD WIN Mini 2024 from us at DROIX.co.uk and DROIX.net for international shipping. Use the discount code WINMINI5OFF on the checkout for a 5% discount. Please note the code expires 1 month after posting this review and it cannot be used during other store sales or promotions. Let us know in the comments what you think of the GPD WIN Mini 2024. Is it worth upgrading to, or give this generation a miss? Thanks for watching, please take a moment to subscribe and you won't miss out on our future videos.